The cold of the revolving door barely brushed my heels before I heard it. "Ma'am, excuse me. This entrance is for employees only." I didn't stop walking. I didn't speed up either. Just the click of my low heels on polished marble, one quiet breath at a time. Bag over shoulder, folders in hand, smile tucked neatly beneath the surface. The receptionist's voice trailed behind me, sharp and sugar-coated, like she was doing me a favor. "I can help direct you. Clients wait in the cafe down the street or—" Security was already on his way. Of course he was. He wasn't running, just striding over with the steady, empty confidence of someone who never has to ask questions. First, I'd seen the way his eyes scanned me. Not my badge, not my face, just my brown skin, my twist-out, my clearance-level confidence that didn't fit the picture in his head. I could feel her watching me, the receptionist, leaning over the sleek white desk like I'd wandered in from the sidewalk and accidentally breathed on the furniture. I stood still. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't show them my teeth or my temper. I just waited, calm, composed. Let them dig their own grave with every micro-inch of disrespect. "Miss," the security guard said, low but firm, "we're gonna need you to wait outside." Outside, as in not here, not welcome, not possible. A young man in a tailored blue suit passed behind me and gave me a sympathetic glance. He didn't stop, didn't speak, but he tapped his keycard on the side panel and walked through the security gate like it was a door to his second home. I didn't move. "Not yet. I have a meeting at 10:15, I said. They weren't listening. The receptionist chuckled, not kindly. "Sweetie, if you're shadowing someone or dropping off a resume, I'd suggest the HR entrance around the back. We can't have guests walking through the exec lobby." She even tilted her head, that mocking little slant. I tilted mine right back. I could feel the heat rising, not in my face, but in the air between us. The quiet tension of being wrongly labeled in your own space. Of being studied instead of welcomed. The receptionist waved her French-tipped fingers again. "Come on now, this is for staff. And this," she pointed vaguely at my cardigan and flats, "isn't exactly business attire, okay?" Her voice was high and smug, like she wanted everyone nearby to know that she'd just done her morning duty, protected the perimeter from another stray. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I reached into my bag, slow, deliberate, and pulled out a single card. Black matte finish, platinum-lined edge, the kind of key card that didn't open doors, it authorized them. I held it up and said nothing, just waited. The scanner beeped. Loud, green light. The security gate clicked open, and the look on both. Their faces? I savored it like black coffee on a rainy morning. The keycard reader still glowed green as I stepped through the gate, not fast, not slow. Just enough time for the silence to thicken behind me. I didn't look back, not yet. Let them stew in it, but I could hear her. The receptionist's voice had dropped an octave, syrupy now. "Wait, ma'am, I didn't realize you had access. If you'd just told me," told her. As if I owed her anything. Security cleared his throat behind me, the heavy kind that says I'm not used to being wrong, and I hate how this feels. I took 3 clean steps forward and finally turned. Not to argue, not to explain, just to look. "Is there a problem?" I asked, even-toned. She blinked at me. No, of course not," she stammered. You didn't look like—" and then stopped herself. "Exactly." "I didn't look like what?" I asked, still calm, still poised, still holding her gaze like a mirror she couldn't escape. The security guard cut in fast. "Apologies. Ma'am, it's been a hectic morning. Lots of new folks coming in and out." He was lying. It was 9:42 a.m. on a Tuesday. The same consultants, same coffee runs, same badge scan beep every 15 seconds. "No worries," I said smoothly. offering a smile that never reached my eyes. "I'll make sure my team has their badges visible next time. Wouldn't want you getting confused again." Her mouth parted like she wanted to object, but something in my tone told her not to. She sat down, fast, hands to her keyboard like she had urgent emails to type, even if the screen in front of her still showed the company homepage. I walked to the elevators. 2 suits were already waiting. One in a grey jacket that looked like it cost more than my entire wardrobe, and the other holding a tablet and pretending not to have seen anything. I nodded at them both. Grey jacket tilted his head slightly, the way certain men do when they know they've underestimated someone and are now trying to recalculate quietly. "Executive floor," he asked, pressing the button. "Top floor," I said. He blinked, then nodded once. Slower. The elevator dinged open and we stepped in. As the doors closed, I caught a final glimpse of the receptionist through the glass, pretending to scroll, pretending not to look up. But she was watching me now, closely, and I knew. The rest of the building would hear about this by lunch, but they still wouldn't really know. Not yet. The elevator ride was silent. But thick. I stood just behind the man in the grey jacket. He kept glancing over at me like he was trying to place me, like I was a misplaced name in a high-stakes memo. "Visiting from another branch?" he finally asked. Voice clipped, but polite. I just looked at him, smiled. "Something like that." He smiled back, confused. Because that's what happens when people only know the faces in their meetings, not the signatures on their contracts. We reached the top floor. He stepped out first, heading left toward the conference rooms. I turned right, straight into the corner suite with the frosted glass door. My name, first and last, etched, clean into the panel. It wasn't big and flashy, just enough to stop someone mid-step if they ever paid attention. Inside, my assistant looked up from her desk. "You're early, Miss Rhodes." "Not really," I said, glancing at the time. "Just had to take the scenic route this morning." She smiled. "They give you trouble again in the lobby?" I raised an eyebrow. "That obvious?" She tilted her head knowingly. The security feed pinged me, looked like a whole episode. I set my bag down and removed my blazer, smoothing the sleeves. "They still think I'm someone's assistant," I said, "or lost, or hired help." "To be fair," she said, her eyes glinting with amusement, "you were carrying your own coffee." I laughed, low and short. "Can't give them too much power at once. Gotta let 'em build their own trap first." From my office window, I had a clean view of the entire downtown, the streets winding like rivers of glass, the people below moving like time on a tight leash. My phone buzzed. Reminder, exec budget review with regional leadership. 10:30 a.m. Conf RMBI tapped. Confirm. Then pulled up the file with a swipe. A dozen names, 6 division heads, 3 who still hadn't returned my calls from last week, and the name at the top of the agenda. K. Rhodes, Chief Strategy Officer. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because they still didn't get it. Half the people in that building couldn't spell my last name. The other half wouldn't even speak it, until they had to, until today. Because when I sat down at that table in 30 minutes, there wouldn't be any doubt left. No more guesses, no more assumptions, just my voice, and the sound of silence shifting around it. I walked in just as the room was starting to laugh. 12 men and 2 women, all of them already seated, half drunk on their own inside jokes and high-level confidence. They hadn't saved me a seat. They hadn't expected me to show, and not like this. A few eyes flicked up as I entered. Some lingered, most didn't. To them, I was still an anomaly. Still. That new girl from the diversity push. A chair scraped awkwardly near the end of the table. Not at the head, of course. That one was empty, but it had someone's nameplate already in front of it. Richard S. Dalton, Executive VP. He wasn't here yet. Typical. I walked the length of the room, past the half-hearted nods, the phones being checked, the men who suddenly found something fascinating on their laptops when I got close. Someone, I think it was Andrew from Central Ops, cleared his throat and said, "Hey there, think we might be full. I can grab an extra chair if you're..." Shadowing someone, I stopped, turned to him. "I'll be sitting at the head," I said simply. His brow furrowed. "I think that's reserved for..." "It's not," I said. Then I reached forward, picked up Dalton's nameplate, turned it face down, and laid my tablet flat in its place. The silence hit like a slap. I sat, crossed my legs, opened my file. Nobody laughed anymore. There was a beat, 2, maybe 3 seconds, before Michelle from finance, the only other black woman in the room, shifted forward with the ghost of a grin on her lips. She knew. I didn't need to raise my voice, I didn't need to explain, I just started speaking. Let's begin with the first item. The Q3 strategy realignment for all Southeast operations. As of this morning, all 6 regional directors have submitted revised projections, though only 3 hit the new benchmark target. I paused, I'd on purpose let them register it. Those 3, I continued, will be prioritized for immediate reinvestment. The rest will be reviewed or removed based on final quarter performance. One of the men, I didn't even register which one, shuffled in his seat like he'd just remembered who signs off on reorg approvals. By the time I was on slide 3, nobody interrupted me. Nobody asked where Dalton was, and nobody looked confused about who was in charge. The door opened midway through the discussion, and Dalton finally walked in. Late, loud. He paused when he saw me in his chair, saw the room already leaning forward, already listening. He smiled like nothing was wrong, like I was doing him a favor. I didn't pause, didn't acknowledge, just flipped to the next slide and said, "As I was saying, here's the roadmap for the next 6 months, assuming all departments want to remain funded, and the room..." It stayed silent, because they knew. They finally knew. I walked in just as the room was starting to laugh. 12 men and 2 women, all of them already seated, half drunk on their own inside jokes and high-level confidence. They hadn't saved me a seat. They hadn't expected me to show, and not like this. A few eyes flicked up as I entered. Some lingered, most didn't. To them, I was still an anomaly. Still. That new girl from the diversity push. A chair scraped awkwardly near the end of the table. Not at the head, of course. That one was empty, but it had someone's nameplate already in front of it. Richard S. Dalton, Executive VP. He wasn't here yet. Typical. I walked the length of the room, past the half-hearted nods, the phones being checked, the men who suddenly found something fascinating on their laptops when I got close. Someone, I think it was Andrew from Central Ops, cleared his throat and said, "Hey there, think we might be full. I can grab an extra chair if you're..." Shadowing someone, I stopped, turned to him. "I'll be sitting at the head," I said simply. His brow furrowed. "I think that's reserved for..." "It's not," I said. Then I reached forward, picked up Dalton's nameplate, turned it face down, and laid my tablet flat in its place. The silence hit like a slap. I sat, crossed my legs, opened my file. Nobody laughed anymore. There was a beat, 2, maybe 3 seconds, before Michelle from finance, the only other black woman in the room, shifted forward with the ghost of a grin on her lips. She knew. I didn't need to raise my voice, I didn't need to explain, I just started speaking. Let's begin with the first item. The Q3 strategy realignment for all Southeast operations. As of this morning, all 6 regional directors have submitted revised projections, though only 3 hit the new benchmark target. I paused, I'd on purpose let them register it. Those 3, I continued, will be prioritized for immediate reinvestment. The rest will be reviewed or removed based on final quarter performance. One of the men, I didn't even register which one, shuffled in his seat like he'd just remembered who signs off on reorg approvals. By the time I was on slide 3, nobody interrupted me. Nobody asked where Dalton was, and nobody looked confused about who was in charge. The door opened midway through the discussion, and Dalton finally walked in. Late, loud. He paused when he saw me in his chair, saw the room already leaning forward. Already listening. He smiled like nothing was wrong, like I was doing him a favor. I didn't pause, didn't acknowledge, just flipped to the next slide and said, as I was saying, here's the roadmap for the next 6 months, assuming all departments want to remain funded. And the room? It stayed silent, because they finally knew. Dalton didn't sit down, not right away. He stood near the door, one hand on the back of an empty chair, the other clutching his coffee cup like it might help him save face, like maybe someone, anyone, might toss him a rope. But no one moved. No one laughed to fill the gap. No one invited him to reclaim the head seat, because that chair wasn't his anymore. Not today. Not ever again if I had anything to do with it. The rhythm of the room had shifted, and it hadn't waited for him. I continued like I didn't even see him. Our revised projection strategy includes sunsetting underperforming divisions and reallocating budget to proven growth centers. That means full visibility into who's been delivering and who's just been attending meetings. That last line landed hard. A few eyes dropped to the table. Someone clicked their pen. Twice. Dalton finally cleared his throat and tried to make his voice light. Well, it's good to see the team's getting a head start today. I didn't look at him. Didn't give him that. I clicked to the next chart. We've already begun transition on vendor accounts and consultant rollbacks, which means we'll be freezing discretionary travel until Q4. Anyone who wants to appeal that should have had their proposal in last Friday. I finally looked up. At him, he opened his mouth like he might say something, but I cut in. Calm, clean, polite. Everything all right, Mr. Dalton? Or would you prefer to take a seat and catch up after the meeting? That silence, it was different now, not awkward. Not shocked, just shifted. Michelle scribbled something in her notepad, lips twitching at the corners. Andrew suddenly found his water bottle interesting. Dalton hesitated, his face stiffening. Then he pulled out a chair, not at the head, not even in the middle, and sat near the wall like someone auditing a college class they used to teach. Good. I finished the briefing in 21 minutes. 12 slides, 0 interruptions, and by the time I asked any questions, the only sounds were nods and the scraping of chairs as people stood to leave. Dalton didn't move. I closed my tablet. Michelle leaned over as we gathered our things, her voice just above a whisper. You let him sit in it long enough. I smiled, just long enough to know it doesn't belong to him anymore. As we walked out, I heard someone behind me say, when did she get promoted? And someone else answered low, months ago. You missed the memo. No, they didn't miss the memo, they just didn't read it. Because it didn't look like them, because it didn't sound like power until now. When I stepped back into the lobby, the receptionist practically jumped out of her chair. Her voice was a pitch higher than before. Ms. Rhodes, I'm so sorry about earlier. I didn't realize. I held up a hand. Not to stop her. Just to keep my peace. She trailed off mid-sentence like her script had vanished. Because it had gone was the tight fake smile from 2 hours ago, the one she wore like a badge of petty authority. Now her eyes darted to my badge, then to my shoes, then to the security guard, who was suddenly very invested in his clipboard. I should have asked for your name, she rushed on. Usually we have like a list, but I didn't see. I don't need to be on your list, I said quietly. I sign it. Her mouth parted again, but nothing came out. Just air. You assumed something, I added, still polite, and that assumption became your policy. I didn't say it with anger, Didn't need to, because shame carries its own volume. Behind her, the monitor buzzed with images of people passing through the glass doors. Half of them probably watched the scene earlier. All of them would hear about it by lunch. The security guard finally looked up, his voice gravel now. "Apologies again, Ms. Rhodes. I should have verified." "You should have looked," I replied. Before you reacted, a pause. Then I asked, "How long have you worked here?" The receptionist blinked. 2 years. "And in 2 years, how many black women have you seen walk through here holding a key card like mine?" She didn't answer. I didn't expect her to. "You'll be seeing more," I said. "Get comfortable with it." I walked away without waiting for a reply. But as I crossed the marble floor, I heard her say something to the guard in a hushed, shaky voice. I didn't know, I really didn't know, and he answered her. That's the problem. Upstairs, Michelle sent me a message. No greeting, just a single line. "Lobby echo hit the group chat. You've got fans now." I smiled at my screen, then deleted the message, because I wasn't doing this to go viral. I wasn't trying to be a symbol or a headline. I was just showing up in my skin, in my role, in my full authority. No costume, no warning. And the building? It could adjust or get left behind. By Friday, the building said my name different. Not louder, not softer, just careful. Like people had suddenly realized it carried weight. I walked past the front desk, and the receptionist stood when she greeted me. Not a full stand, just that halfway, polite, "I know who you are now," lean. No more directions, no more questions. She even buzzed me through without asking to see my card. Growth. I didn't slow down, just nodded. Not to be cruel, but because I'd learned that dignity walks better in silence. The real surprise came in the elevator. Andrew from Central Ops, the same one who offered to grab me a spare chair 4 days ago, stepped in beside me. He smiled like nothing had happened, but his eyes didn't meet mine, not until the door closed. "You, really handled that review meeting," he said casually. "Was impressive." I said nothing. He scratched his chin. "Didn't realize how much you were overseeing these days." Still I waited, because I knew what was coming next, that shift. That subtle desperation to be on the right side of power now. "You know," he continued, chuckling like it was a joke, "I told Dalton we should have been including you earlier. You've got a sharp mind for structure, strategy, all of it." There. It was I turned my head and looked at him, right in the eye. "You didn't tell him that," I said, cool and flat. "Because you didn't know my name last month." He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The elevator dinged. I stepped off and left him standing there with his compliment still stuck in his throat. By the time I reached my office, a bouquet was waiting. Cream roses. No card, just a small handwritten note on my desk that read, "You changed the weather in this building." Michelle popped her head in with a grin. "Receptionist swears she didn't send them, says she can't afford your taste." "Then who did?" I asked. Michelle shrugged. "Heard Dalton stepping down early. Word is you're being considered for VP." I arched a brow. "Considered?" Michelle smirked. "We both know it's already yours." I didn't smile. Not because I wasn't proud, but because pride doesn't need to show off when it's sitting in the seat they said you'd never earn. Let them adjust. Let them whisper. Let them rehearse my name like a spell they wish they'd known sooner, because I'm not going anywhere. And the room knows it now. The building breathed different now, not because of who I'd become, but because of what they could no longer ignore. It started small. An email forwarded to me by mistake that once might have gone to Dalton. A VP from the LA office asking if I'd mentor his daughter. She's interested in strategy. A company-wide memo signed with my name in bold, Kendra Rhodes, Chief Strategy Officer. 3 lines underneath it, future-focused, human first, built to last. My words. Not a slogan, a warning. People started showing up early to my meetings, started citing me, quoting me, not out of flattery, out of necessity, because now they had to. And funny thing is, I didn't raise my voice once. Didn't throw a tantrum, didn't call HR. I let them talk, let them doubt, let them forget my title. Until it showed up in red ink on their next quarterly review. Let the receptionist think I was just another lost woman with a visitor's badge. Let security walk toward me like I didn't belong, because the longer they misjudged me, the sweeter. The silence got once they saw the truth, and when the promotion came. Not a word from Dalton. He sent a bottle of champagne with no card. I left it on the counter in the break room, unopened. Let them all sip from it and wonder. Weeks later, I passed the receptionist again. This time she stood before I could reach the desk. "Ms. Rhodes," she said, with her hands folded just right. "Would you like someone to walk you up?" I smiled, warm but distant. "I've always known my way." She nodded quickly, cheeks flushed. "I hope you have a good morning." I looked her in the eye. I always do. And I walked through that lobby like it was mine, because in every way that mattered, it was. They don't make me wait anymore, because they finally know I was never trying to belong. I was leading. They just took too long to follow.